Hello and welcome to Morris Park. I'm Clyde Morris. And today I want to do an update on my Euphorbia Enigma. Now this plant is basically a hybrid plant, and it was made by pollinators coming in and out of my greenhouse. This was not a concentrated effort that I did. And it took me a while to figure out what the father was, which is on my Euphorbia evansii tree. Took me a while to figure this out, but by the three-angled branches and everything that the Enigma has, it's very similar. Many of you have heard me talk about this plant and seen this plant, but this plant does curiosity things all the time, and it morphs all the time. Every so many years, you see something new. Now, at first, all the branches came out nice and flat, like a stellata. You can see these branches here, right there, sit flat. They start out flat. But as they get a little longer, they won't get too much longer than that before they go into this three-angled branch. Right there. And that's much like the evansii. But over the years, it's done some changing. And like every so many years, it does something different. This is a four-angled branch. You see there, I get my phone to focus. It's not cooperating with me tonight. Anyhow, you see that little crisscross shape there? It's four angles. And it's been doing that for a few years, getting these four-angled branches. Now, just recently, it's done this. And the branches are starting to actually round out. So they're not just four-angled, they're almost like tubercled. And getting very rounded, almost like a medusa, but with thorns. And it's kind of tubercled instead of having the definite angles. As you can see here, it's just kind of started up in a different place and giving this tubercled effect. So it has like a star-looking shape to the end of the branches. And we're starting to get quite a few of these branches around like this. This one too. Very much like that, rounded. So it's going through another phase, and it's changing again. A very curious plant. Now, originally what this came from was a Euphorbia stellata branch that I had. I had one rooted. I'd saved from one that I had a long time, and the caudex rotted. And all I was able to save was the one branch. The branch, produced some flowers and then some seed pods. And I was watching the seed pods, but they blew up before I thought they would. And I lost the seeds, but notice a sprout coming up on one of the other plants. As you see, so many plants here, it has a good chance of landing in soil somewhere. But anyhow, it came up and I saved the seedling and it started growing. It looked just like a stellata. Exactly. The first 5 years, I thought this was a pure stellata. Great. I thought it had a new stellata growing for a normal shape and everything. Really nice. And then, of course, it started doing these three-angled branches. As you see, this flat branch here has turned into a three-angled branch. I started getting those. So that was the first morphing it actually did. And then, some years later, the four-angled branches started coming just here and there, one here, one there. But now all of them are basically turning into four-angled branches. It's hard to see any of the three-angled branches that have just stayed that way. So now they're all doing that. And then, after that, of course, are these rounded-looking branches. Very curious. Very curious-looking little branches. See how they're almost tubercled. Very cool. The first time this year, this bloomed also. I've never had luck with it blooming. The buds would come on, they'd die. Would never bloom. But this year it actually bloomed. You see some of the remnants of some of the dead flowers on there. And this is both male and female. You can see it has a caudex, really a nice caudex. Just like a stellata would. But very much a change from the stellata growth. The branches have really morphed. Mostly four-angle branches and now rounded four-angle branches. This is a very curious plant. I wish my phone would actually focus better, like that. Very unusual. I can't wait to see what this does. I'd like to take one of these branches off and see if I can get it as a root. I'm very curious to see what would happen rooting one of these four-angled mutated branches, the rounded ones, and see what would happen. I'm actually wondering if this will do have a main stems on the end and produce plantlets, like make new heads, kind of like a Medusa would. Much like on my Muriae here. You can see all the little satellite branches coming off it. The little branches turn into new branches and such. Does it on my Flanaganii also. See that little branch that's turned into a head? So I'm not really sure if it's going to do that or not. This plant has been a surprise all the way around. And so I'm just waiting to see what happens. A very curious plant, this Euphorbia Enigma. Called Enigma because I really couldn't figure out who was the father first. I thought it was Opuntoides right at first. I have a Euphorbia Opuntoides that bloomed around the same time. But I remember my Evansii and this one, the stellata, not this one, bloomed around the same time also at that time. So I'm very sure that it's a Euphorbia stellata Evansii hybrid. But a very curious plant. It is. It just keeps amazing me what it does. Flowers are kind of greenish, much like a stellata. And small, and the Evansii has very small, kind of greenish flowers also. So not much change in the flowers, but definitely in the structure. The branch structure is getting totally different. Very curious. Like I said, almost tubercled. Anyhow, I just wanted to show you this change in the Euphorbia Enigma and what it's doing now. Seems to be ever-changing and amazing. So I hope you enjoyed seeing this curious plant of mine. I've showed quite a bit, but it's just doing this new rounded branch thing instead of the angles. And it's just very curious. Hybrids can change. Anyhow, this is Clyde Morris from Morris Park. I hope you all have a good evening. Take care and have a good week. Bye-bye.